All right, let's see. Let's see. I already built out majority of the ticket bot system, so what I want to do is I'm going to implement transcripts in this live stream, and then we'll try to build a user interface if I have some time. Foy here, what's up? How are you? So let's see. Basically, I already built out my ticket bot already, and it works great. I just need to implement transcripts, which is what I really want to accomplish in this live stream. So hopefully we get to do it. I think I have enough time to do that. It shouldn't be that hard because all we have to do is just save all the messages. But I want to build out a user interface where the user can log in and then they can see the actual transcript. So that's what we're going to be doing in this stream. So what's up, Luke? What's up, Protham? Okay, so let me show you what I have so far, so y'all are not just bored to death. So we're gonna create a ticket, and then since I'm the admin of this server, I can just go ahead and close the ticket. But let me see. Let me go on my other account, and I'll show you how this works. So if I go over to my other Discord account, if I were to click on create ticket, it's gonna give me a ticket, and if I close it, I'm not gonna see it anymore. Okay, so the channel actually just disappears, which is good. All right, so that works. So we just need to implement a couple other features, okay? And one of the features is transcripts. So the way that we're going to do this is we're going to need to listen to the message create event. And I know the code is ridiculously messy, but in the actual tutorial, it'll be a lot more organized. So don't worry about that. I know this is really, really messy, but don't worry so much about that for now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and listen to the client on message create event, and we're going to get we're basically just listening to this event so we can get all the messages that are sent in the ticket channels, and then we can actually do stuff with that. So let me actually just log this real quick. And I think I don't need to enable intents right now because it's not August 31st, or it's not August 30th yet, because I think that's when it's going to be enforced. So don't have to worry about that. So let's see. Just gonna wait for the bot to relog in. Okay. So let's do create ticket. Hi. Hello. So it seems like it's not even logging the messages, which is really that's not good. So I guess we gotta enable intents. I think I need to enable it on the actual application itself in the dev portal. Yep, we need to enable it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just go over to the developer portal, and I'm going to enable intents for my bot. Well, it's already enabled already, so why is it giving me this issue? What the hell? This intent will not be enforced until after August 31st. Okay, but I have it enabled, so I'm not sure why it's empty. That's really strange. Gateway and 10 bits, dots. Guilds, we have guild messages, we have, oh, message content, there we go. Okay, that should fix our issue. Okay. Hello world. Alright, perfect. So it's being logged. So basically, every single message that is stored inside this transcript, stored inside this ticket channel, we're gonna want to save it. So let's see. what I want to do is this. So how do we know if we're inside an actual ticket channel? Well, there's no way of actually knowing. The only thing that we need to do is just get the channel ID that the message is being sent in. And I think this should be fine. And then what we want to do is we want to, let's see. I mean, there's a couple ways that we could do this, right? What you could do is you can listen to the message create event and save all the messages, or when you create the channel, right? So the channel is being created right over here. When you create the channel, what you can do is you can actually add a collector on there. So collectors are still a thing in Discord.js version 14. So if you go over to message collector, you could add a message collector. The only problem with this is that you end up having a bunch of message collectors that are created, and that's not necessarily good, right? Because that will obviously use up a lot of memory, and you're just going to end up having message collectors running in the background. If the bot restarts, the message collector is gone, so you won't be able to actually receive additional messages unless you start up the bot, or unless you like restart the collector somehow, and that's going to be hard to manage. So the best thing to do is just to use the message event. And what we could do is this. We could do this. We can go ahead and search for, let's do this, const ticket db, and let's add async here. Await ticket repository dot find one by. And the way that I have my database structured is I have a ticket table that has all of these properties as column fields. So we're going to search by the channel ID, because the channel ID allows us to know which ticket it is. So we're going to search by channel ID, and we're going to do that. If the ticket exists, then that means that we're going to dump the message into there. If it doesn't, then we can't really do anything else. Sub Assassin, how are you? I'm looking at embedding a text channel, so far I know how to use all of describe users. I'm not sure what you mean by text channel. Next year, I don't even know if that's even. Actually, I don't even know. I've never done that before, so I wouldn't know. Okay, so if the ticket exists, then the ticket itself, we need to basically store all the messages inside here. And basically, since we're using SQL, we want to have a relationship between the ticket table and the message table. So the ticket table is going to have a field called messages, or not a field. It's going to basically relate to the message table. And it's going to be a one-to-many relationship, because one ticket is going to have many messages, and many messages are going to belong to one ticket. So we're going to create a new entity called message, and we'll create a class. And inside this class, what we're going to do is we're first going to mark this as a type RM entity. Okay. I think a better thing to do actually would probably be to create a second entity called transcript and have the ticket relate to the transcript as a one-to-one relationship. But that's just too much right now, so we'll just only worry about this. So we'll do primary generate a column, ID number, column, where this will be the message, or let's do content, which is a string. And we need the date created, which is very important. And there should be a property on the message object called created at, which is a date type. So we'll need this to order the messages. So we'll call this created at as well, and this will be a date type. And we can also add other properties too, such as the author of the message. So author. We'll do let's see. For this message we'll do username. Or actually let's do tag. Actually no, we'll do author. We'll do author. Author ID. Let's do author tag, author ID, and then we'll also add the author's avatar. And I might need to make this a one-to-one relationship, so we'll have to create another author instance, but we actually no, that wouldn't be a good idea actually. Okay, so we'll have these 6 properties, and default will be empty string. Nullable will be true. Nullable will be true. There we go. So what I want to do is I want to go ahead and create this message in the database and save it to tickets. Now this is supposed to be a one-to-many relationship, so one-to-many. Message entity, and then we'll do messages like that. Did I do this correctly? Actually, whoops. It should be this. Let me actually look this up. I haven't done this for a while. One-to-many type ORM. So it should be arrow function. It maps to a message type, and then message will be m dot, and then ticket. We'll have to create the property on here. So many to 1. This maps to let's see. This maps to a ticket. Ticket dot messages, which is an array. Okay, and then the property name will be ticket, type ticket. So we set up that, so now we can easily just save the tickets to the tickets entity. Okay. So now what we do is let's just restart the bot. What's going on over here? Entity. Oh yeah, wait. We gotta go ahead and register this as a type ORM entity. So let's do that. There we go. That should fix that. Okay. So what we do is we just create the record in the database for the ticket. So const message record equals, and we need to actually get the repository for the message. So I'll go up here and I'll create a variable called message repository, and then we'll reference our app data source, which is the connection to the database, and we can go ahead and call get repository to get the message repository. So we'll pass in the message entity right over here. Yeah. And I'll rename this as message entity because I don't want there to be any confusion between a Discord message and our very own message entity. So I'll just do that. And inside here, we'll do message or await message repository. And we'll just create the, we'll create it. So create, actually this is not asynchronous. So message repository dot create, and then what we'll do is this. We will go ahead and get the content, which is going to be message.content, created at, message.created@. Author tag will be message.author.tag. And then we'll need the author avatar message.author.avatar. I think I might do default. I'm not sure what the difference is, to be honest. We'll do display avatar URL. And then we'll do author ID. And the author ID for this will be message.author.id. And for the ticket, we'll do ticket DB like this. And I think this should save it. This should save it and also have the relation. So we'll do const save message equals await message repository dot save, and then we'll pass in the message record like this. So that should create the actual record in the database table. We'll test that out in just a second. So let me open up my database. Let me go into my database table in the SQL console. Yo, the droid, thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. I was actually yesterday configuring some stuff for memberships. But yeah, thank you for joining. I really appreciate that. So we're going to use the database. And let's just show tables. So we have the message table. That's good. If we were to select data from that messages table, nothing would appear. So I'll go ahead and fix that. So let's go ahead and create a new ticket. Though we might not be able to. Let me delete all of these tickets real quick. I learned a lot from you. Keep the good work. Thank you. I appreciate it. And once again, thank you for joining. I'm actually working on new perks for my channel for members. Something that I didn't do last time, but I kind of was really confused on what I should do. But I was thinking about it yesterday. I was actually trying to remove a couple of levels and update them, but I definitely want to add some new perks to it. All right, so let's go ahead and send some messages. Hello world. Okay, and you can see that it says hello world, and it inserted a new message. And you can see over here that we have the message saved in a database. We have the content, the date it was created on, the author tag, we have the author ID, and we have the avatar URL right over here. And then we have the ticket ID, which is good because now we know which message this belongs to, which message this ticket belongs to. Did I miss much? Not really. Not really. So now that we are able to save messages, right, that's good because then we can create transcripts now. So for example, let me go on my other account and let me go ahead and create a ticket. And you can see it says ticket menu. I'm going to say hello. And then if I go ahead and select all the messages, you can see that it exists over there. And it belongs to a ticket of ID number 34, though it is hard to see, but you can see it right over here. Ticket ID number 34. Okay? Which is good. And I can go back and forth and have a conversation. So let's go to this. This is a hey there. And every single message that is sent in this channel is going to be saved in our database. And we can use it for a transcript later. Okay? So let's go over to our ticket system. And we're practically done with saving the message. Okay? If we were to send messages in other channels, they would not be saved because they do not belong in the ticket channel. So that is good. Okay? So we can just go, let's just go ahead and continue sending more messages. How are you? And I'll show you how we can generate an actual transcript in the UI. I am good. I need some help. Okay, so let's just keep, I'm just going to keep sending messages back and forth just so that we can have more messages. Okay, and let's see. All right, so I think this should be enough. So let's go ahead and see how we can actually generate the transcript logs. So this is going to be the best part of this whole stream is we're going to actually have to build out a user interface. And we're going to have the user log in, and then when they log in, they can see all their transcripts. So let's see. Let me just make sure that we've covered everything in this part before we proceed with anything else. Okay, I think this should be it. I think this is all we'll need to do. One additional thing that I would also recommend is probably caching the ticket itself. But I'm not sure if there'll be any issues with serialization and stuff when you retrieve it from memory. Because if you keep fetching the database, it is going to get slow. It is going to slow down. So what you could do is you can actually add this maybe to like a cache. Maybe something like a map or Redis, and instead of just querying the database, you can just query the cache. Okay, and it'd actually be a good way to know when the user has closed the ticket. So when the user closes the ticket, you can remove the ticket from the cache, and then you don't need to worry about saving messages to that ticket anymore. Okay, but we should also do this too. If the ticket is closed, so let's do this. If ticket exists and ticket status is not, or let's just do is equal to open, then we will save messages. Because if it's closed, then it doesn't make sense to save messages, right? All right, so I think we're done with this part. The next thing that we'll do to actually set up the UI stuff, or not the UI, the transcript stuff, is we'll need to actually set up OAuth 2 with Discord. So I'll just run through that very quickly. I think I'll probably use Express for this. I don't think I'll use an SJS to do all this. But we will need to, of course, create a front end and a back end. So let's just do that. So I think we can exit this application. I'll leave it up and running, but I'll probably just minimize this for now, in case we need it later. So let's go ahead and create a new folder. Let's just call this Discord ticket. So we'll need a UI, we'll need a React UI, and we'll need a backend. I think what I'll do is I'll create the backend first. I think the backend is a lot easier. And this is going to be an Express project. I'm not going to use Nest for this because that'll take literally forever. At least with the ticket system, it won't take too long. So let's just set up our project. Let me actually do something real quick. Let's see. Let's do npm init-y. Let's install TypeScript and tsnode, and we'll install nodemon locally. So right now we're just going to install TypeScript. We're going to set up the backend, and the backend is basically going to connect to the same database that our bot is connected to, so that way we can actually fetch the messages for the ticket, and that's how we're actually going to be able to display the tickets to the user. So when I install this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go into Visual Studio Code, create a new folder, call it source, create a new file, call it index.ts. We'll set up a dev script, which will run nodemon.source/index.ts. Okay, so now we'll need to install Express. So let's install that. We will need to install some other dependencies, but I'll worry about that later. I don't want to do everything all at once right now. Let's just set up the Express app first. So import Express from Express. And we'll create the app. So first, let me just create a function. Call it main. And when we run this application, it'll call that function immediately. What I'll do next is I'll create my Express app. And inside the try catch, we will listen to requests by calling app.listen. And it's not giving me IntelliSense because I don't have types installed. So let's just install that. Done. So now that should work. App.listen, and then we'll pass in a port and a callback function so we know that when the user has successfully, or not when the user, when the server is up and running. So running on port. Okay, let's define a variable, call it port. This will receive the value of process.env.port, or we'll just put in random port like that. So it's going to be port 3000. I do need to also get the OAuth 2 credentials for Discord, because like I said, we are going to be using OAuth 2. So I do need to go ahead and grab those values, okay? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Let me just run this first. npm start dev. Make sure it's working. Perfect, it's working. It's good. All right. All right, so let's go ahead and set up some routes. Let's set up a router. So we'll need one for auth. So let's import the router function from the Express package. We will create an instance of that router by calling that function and assigning it to the router variable. And I'll go ahead and just export the router as a default export. I'll go ahead and set up 2 endpoints, one for the user to log in. So this will be /auth/discord/login. And then we'll set one up for the redirect. So discord/redirect. Okay. I think that's, we'll also have some others like router get/discord/ or not discord, status, so that'll let us know if the user is logged in or not, and then we'll create a logout function as well. Okay, but we'll focus on implementing these 2 endpoints, which will need Passport for that. But let's just go ahead and make sure that these routes actually work. So I'll do res.send 200 for the login route. Let's go ahead and register the auth routes. So what I'll do is I'll go into index.ts. I will go ahead and import auth route from routes/auth. Oops. Routes/auth. And actually, let me do this. Let me create a new file called index.ts. And let me just literally do this. But instead, let me do router.use, register with the API prefix. And we're going to import all of our routers into this main file. So all of the routes that are registered in the auth.ts file will be prefixed with /API. And what we could do then is we can just import this index.ts file. So import routes from /routes. Don't need to specify index because it'll just import that index by default. And then I can just do app.use. Do I need to do /API? I think I just pass in routes, and I think that should work. I have not used Express for a really long time. Let's try this out. So let's go to port 3001 /API/auth/discord/login. So it's saying it cannot get that. Interesting. So we are registering this over here. Did I do this wrong? I think I may have done this wrong. It's been a while since I've done this. Oh, wait, you know what it is? This is supposed to be /auth, and then we're supposed to register this with /API like this. Totally forgot. Okay. Okay, so it's working. That's good. So now that we know that our routes are successfully registered, we can go ahead and proceed. Okay. So the next thing that we'll need to do for OAuth 2, because like I said, we will need to set up OAuth 2 because the user is going to log in and then we'll get their details like the ID of the user. And we'll need to use the ID to query the database to get all the users' transcripts, all their tickets, right? So essentially, if you look at the tickets table that we have currently, we'll just search the same database with the created by filter, pass in the user's ID, and then we can just list to them all of the tickets. Now, right now, we don't have any description or any title for those tickets, so we might need to add more properties later on, but we won't worry about that right now. So let's go ahead and set up passport authentication, so that way we can implement OAuth 2. So let's do npm I passport, and passport, I think Discord is the strategy. And let's just do npm I -d. Let's install the types package for passport -discord because we are using TypeScript. And all the code will be in a GitHub repository. If you all, those who are watching, you can go ahead and grab it if you want to. If you don't want to, that's also fine too. So we're gonna have to set up passport. So let's first import passport from passport. And we also will need sessions too. So let me install express session and install the types package for that. Okay, so let's import session from express session, just like that. And then let's go ahead and configure this. So let's do that real quick. So let's do app.use passport.initialize, and then app.use passport.session. So that will register passport with sessions. And then we need to make sure we register sessions as well. So let's call the session function. And then we'll pass in properties. So we'll need a cookie secret. So we'll just pass a random string. This is used for encrypting and decrypting cookies. Let's see, chat says, which is better for complex code, TypeScript or regular JavaScript? TypeScript, 100%. Set resave and save initialize to false. Max age, or we have to set the cookie property. We'll set the max age to, let's do 1 hour. And yeah, so this is enough. Later on, we'll configure session stores so we can persist the session. Okay. Okay, so that's done with the session. So we're done with that. Now we actually need to invoke the passport middleware. So to do that, we'll go into our routes. So inside auth.ts, after the route name, okay, well first let's import passport. Then we'll go ahead and do passport.authenticate, which is a middleware that we're going to call. And whenever the user visits this route, it's going to redirect them to the Discord login screen. That's what passport takes care of. The strategy is going to be Discord, of course, and then we have to do the same thing for the redirect. And then we're done. So now, if I were to visit that route, you're going to see that we're going to get an error. Actually, let me start up the application. Let's start up the app, and you're going to see that it says unknown authentication strategy, and that's fine because we have not actually implemented the authentication strategy, so it doesn't recognize it, so we need to do that. So let's go into our code, and let's go into the source folder. Let's right-click, click on Create New Folder, create a file called Strategies, and we'll create a Discord strategy.ts file. I'll import passport from passport. I'll import from the passport Discord package. I'm going to import a couple things. I'm going to import the strategy class, and I'm going to import profile. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do passport.use. So I'm going to call this method, and I'm going to create a new instance of the strategy class. And then we're going to have to pass in our OAuth 2 credentials and some information about that. We'll do that in just a second. But the second parameter that we need is the verify function. which is actually the second argument for the strategy constructor. So that's this function over here, and we'll make this function async. And this function is going to take in 4 parameters. If you look right over here, if I can actually look it over here. Okay, so access token, refresh token, profile. Actually, yeah, it's 4. So the last parameter is the verify callback. So let's just set this up. So access token, refresh token, profile, and then done. And I can actually type annotate this. Let's see. OAuth 2 strategy. I'll just type annotate as verify callback. There we go. Okay. Now we won't be needing the access or the refresh token. I'm not going to be logging these, obviously, because I'm live right now. But I can actually just log other stuff to, like the profile, the verify callback. Okay, but I'm not going to. But if you want to know what properties you can get, just literally do profile dot, and you can see all of the properties that exist. Okay. The only ones that we'll save is I'll just save the Discord ID and the name. I don't think I'll save anything else aside from that, to be honest with you. Okay, but let's go ahead and pass in the properties for the client ID, client secret, and the callback URL, and the scope. The scope, we're only going to do, I think, profile. I don't think we need anything else. We definitely don't need the email. And I mean, in a real application, yes, you would need the email. But for our situation, I'm not going to bother collecting that. So we'll just click profile, and you won't need guilds. Okay, you won't need guilds. So let's do this. Scope, profile, and for the client ID, I'm going to go ahead and set up environment variables in just a second. So for now, I'm going to just do this for all of the values. And I'm going to have to go grab them from the portal. Okay, so we're going to install a package called .env. And we're going to create a file called .env. And we're going to have literally the same exact properties as our environment variable name. Okay, so environment variables are a good way to store your credentials. Though I would not recommend using .env for production. You should use an actual environment variable, or nowadays people actually use Vault, which basically stores secrets for you, and you can call the Vault API, and then you can actually get the secrets there. I think that's a good way to do that. So let me go into my developer portal, and I'm going to actually move this to the other screen because obviously I don't want to show it to you all. Okay, give me 1 second. And for the callback URL, I'll explain that in just a second. Okay. So I had just populated my environment variables in the .env file. So now these values should work, but it won't work yet because we need to actually call the config function. So we need to import the config function. Is .env complete secure? No. You should, I mean, you could use it in production, but I would not recommend you to do it. The only way that they could actually get access to that file is if they have access to your server. But even then, having stuff on the server doesn't make it 100% secure. Okay. So I'd recommend using something like an actual operating system environment variable where you set it on the actual OS, or use something like Vault where you can store it in the cloud and you can fetch it. But it's up to you though. Okay, it's just how you store it and the practice that you follow that makes it secure. But nothing is 100% secure, of course. Okay, like for example, you can have a .env file on a server that has lots of protection, right? You set up like an IP table set up a firewall, a bunch of other things, right? And like I said, nothing is ever 100% secure. But having something alone like that could make it harder for someone to hack into that server. Okay. Yo, what's up, Pana? How are you? Siach, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream, Linux or Linux. It's called the config function, and our environment variable should be loaded into memory. And we should not get an error. Well, actually, we are not. It's not even going to error out because we actually have not even imported the Discord strategy file yet. So I'll do that right now. And I know this is going to look a little bit wonky, but I'm going to have to import the strategy file using a require statement. Don't ask why, but I know in the past when I've tried doing it like this, it did not work. And I think it works if you do a dynamic import. But yeah, so let me just show you what happens. Hold on. Yeah, don't worry about this though. I'm just going to do require strategies, Discord strategy, and I'm going to move this up top here. Okay. So now our strategy is now configured. And if we go into our browser, and if I were to try to log in to Discord right now, it's going to redirect me to, actually, I think I set the wrong scope. I think I may have set the wrong scope. Let me see. Did I set the wrong scope? Let me check. Let me double check real quick. Oh, it's not profile. I'm so used to using Google. It's identity. Or no, identify, sorry. It's identify. Okay? That is the scope that we need. So let's try this again. So, okay, perfect. So now if I were to try to visit that route, so let me show you. /API/auth/discord/login. It's gonna bring me to the Discord page, and then when I click authorize, it's gonna redirect us back to the redirect URL. When it redirects you to the redirect URL, which we have configured right over here, it's going to invoke passport again, and that's where it's going to actually exchange the code with the access and refresh token and get you the actual user credentials. So I'm going to just go ahead and log a couple of properties here. So I'll log profile dot let's do profile dot ID, profile dot discriminator, or username, profile dot discriminator, profile dot, I think, avatar. Yeah, let's log these values in the console. And if I were to click authorize right now, you're going to see that in the console, it's now going to log everything. It's going to log my ID, my username, my discriminator, and the hash of my avatar. Okay? And of course, nothing's happening yet. And the reason why nothing is happening is because, what is going on here? I'm not sure what this is, but nothing's happening right now. And the reason why nothing's happening is because we have not called the done callback yet. Okay, in order for something to actually happen, you need to invoke this function. But this is where we'll need to actually save the user into our database, and then we'll need to serialize them into the session. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and BRB for 1 minute. Yo, what is going on? Let's see, I'm back. Yo, Lyrosphere, thank you so much for joining again as a member. I really appreciate it. The droid joined earlier, and I was telling them that we are actually working on new perks for the channel. Something that I was thinking about doing was creating like a private Discord for only my members, and they would be able to, like, you know, get direct access, get direct content, and they can ask for stuff like resume feedback, tips on getting a job, kind of like something like consultation, but like as a group. But that's something that I'm still thinking about, and I'm trying to make sure that if I were to do that, I would have to be very cautious with making sure like what it would offer. But that's just like something that I have planned for the members perks. But that's not something that I'm worried about right now, though. We'll worry about that later. Anyways, so what we need to do is we need to save the user to the database, okay? Because right now inside here, we're not really doing anything with this. We need to create a new user if the user does not exist, and we need to then serialize the user into the actual session, okay? So we need to actually use type ORM. Well, I mean, you don't have to, but I'm going to use type ORM. Express, back to basics. No, not really. I'm just using Express because it's quick to prototype with. If I were to use I mean, I could use Nest.js, right? But then again, that would scare off a lot of people because it would take a whole long time to configure everything. If you think Express is Express is good for prototyping stuff very quickly. I still use Nest.js. If I were to make a new project, I would always use Nest.js, but I would never use Express anymore. After using Nest for over like a year now. But Express is a lot more simpler than Nest.js. It's just I don't want to make the stream ridiculously long of just configuration by using Nest.js. So let me go ahead and install type ORM now. So let's do npm I type ORM. We also need to install the MySQL 2 package, which is the driver. And so allow us to actually connect to the database. And we need to install reflect metadata as well. And what we're going to do is, while this is installing, I'm going to go into my index.ts file. And all the way at the top, we're going to import reflect metadata. And we're going to I also forgot to initialize TypeScript. So let me do that real quick. npx tsc --init. There we go. And we need to enable two properties. The first one is going to be, let me find it real quick. Experimental decorators, set that to true. Emit decorator metadata, set to true. Okay, have you seen the API routing in Next.js? I have seen it. I'm not sure if they have updated it because I haven't looked at Next for a while. Is the ticket bot going to be available? Yes, it will. I'm actually working on a tutorial for it right now, though it's going to be a really complex one because there's just so much stuff to cover. At least for the transcripts. I think the transcripts is not going to be that difficult, but it will be a very long tutorial. I'm not sure if... I actually have everything recorded. It's like about 2 hours long, the entire clips, which took me about like 3 to 4 hours to fully record. But I might have to actually re-record it though. Okay. So we have to enable these two. And Nuxt.js or Next.js. I think Nuxt is actually a thing. For Vue, I think. Anyways, now that we've installed those packages and we've enabled the metadata, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and create a folder called type ORM, and I'll create a file called datasource.ts. And what we want to do is we want to create a data source like this. And then we want to pass on a bunch of options. Let me go ahead and export const. I don't know what Nuxt is, to be honest. So sorry about that. So let's set the type to MySQL. It's basically, this data source is going to be the same thing as our ticket bot. So let me just actually copy this, but instead, hold on. Let me copy this. And let me remove all of that. We are going to be using the same entities anyways, but let me just copy that. Okay. And yeah, that should be pretty much it for that. Okay. We should also import the data source and initialize it as well. And we'll do, wait, which cloud databases would you recommend for big projects? I mean, there's MySQL and MongoDB are two that I would recommend. There's also PostgreSQL. Let's run the application again. Okay, so we're connected to our database. And again, we're reusing the same database, which is fine. Okay? Though I hope it did not override the database. Good, it didn't. Okay, perfect. And we'll also need, I think we might need to copy the same entities. So I'll do that in just a second. But let's first create the user entity. So we're going to create a user entity. This is just going to represent the user who is logging into our application. We're going to create a primary key for that user. We'll save the user's Discord ID as a string. We're going to set this as a unique value. I'm going to go into tsconfig and I'm going to set strict property initialization to false. So I get rid of these issues because I don't really like how it complains about that for a class. Anything else that I should save? Probably might save the avatar URL. So let's do that. And we can also save the user's username as well. Though it's not really a good idea to save these things anyways because they can change over time and people tend to change their username and discriminate all the time. So I wouldn't recommend saving these, but you can if you want to. I'll save it for now. Okay. So let's go ahead and actually register this entity. So we do that by passing that inside the array of entities right over here in our data source. So we'll import user from /entity/user. And then you're going to see in just a second, it's going to create that entity. And if I go into my database, and if I were to show all tables, we now have the users table, which is great. Okay. So let's go ahead and finish off with our logic. Yeah, TypeORM, I guess, I haven't used TypeORM for like 5 months. I guess they had a huge update because now they actually deprecate a lot of the old methods that you would use before. So data source is actually a fairly new thing, I guess. Okay, so let's go into Discord strategy.ts. And what we're going to do is we want to check to see if the user exists. And we do that by querying the database. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to get the actual repository. So I'll go ahead and do const user repository equals. And to get the repository, so TypeORM had a method called getRepository, but it's deprecated. So instead of doing that, the new way to do it is to reference the data source. So app, if I can actually import this. Guess it's going to be annoying. So we have to import app data source from data source, and we reference that, and then we call get repository, and just pass in the entity that you want to work with. So user, and you're done. So then what I could do is I can go ahead and search for user. So const find user equals await, because this is an asynchronous method, user repository dot find one by, and we want to search by the Discord ID. Discord ID, profile.id. So if the user is found, I guess we can update the user. So if find user, we can update it. I'm not going to update it though. Actually, let me do this. If there's no user, then we will create the user. Else we will return done, pass in null for the error, and then we'll pass in the user. But I would recommend updating the user every single time they authenticate. What's going on over here? Why is it complaining about this? Because I'm literally, we know that at this point, the user is... Oh, wait, hold on, give me a second. Yeah, I mean, I don't get it. We know at this point, we know that user is not null because over here we checked if it's not null. That's really strange to me if you ask me. Oh, you know why? It's complaining about whether, yeah, you know what? This is really dumb. Let me just do that. So if the user is not found, we'll create a new user. So let's do const new user equals user repository dot create, and we'll pass in all the values that we need to save. So we'll need to save Discord ID. That's going to be profile.id, username profile.username, discriminator, avatar URL, avatar. There we go. And I think that's all we'll need to save. What's going on over here? Oh, is it complaining about, what is it complaining about now? This is one of the reasons why I strongly dislike TypeScript a lot. String is null is not allowed to be assigned to string undefined. What is it complaining about? Yeah, is it complaining about? So confused. Is it complaining about the avatar or other? I guess it's complaining about the avatar, I guess. Yeah, okay, we'll just leave it like that. I'll just do or string, I guess. Who cares? Because the default value is a empty string anyways. Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and save the user. And then we will return done null saved user. Okay, perfect. So if the user is not found, create it, save it to the database, return. If the user is found, return it. Perfect. So what is next? Well, one more thing that I'll do, of course, is you should probably wrap this all in a try catch. Okay, so if anything bad ever goes wrong, return the error, return null for the user object. Okay, cool. So what's going on over here? Argument of type unknown. We'll just do error as error, I guess. And I guess we have to pass undefined instead. There we go. All right. So the next thing that we'll need to do is implement the serialize and deserialize methods. Because right now, what will happen if we try to log into our application, which we'll do that right now. Let's do that. Log in. You're going to see that it's going to actually say failed to serialize user into session. Watch. Yep, as I predicted. Well, not predicted, I know that that's what the thing was going to happen. Failed to serialize user into session. And of course, that's what's going to happen because we don't have the serialize and deserialize user methods implemented yet. And we can do that right now. So all the way up top over here, In Express, we will do passport.serializeUser, which takes in a callback function. The callback function is going to take in two parameters. It takes in the user object itself, and then it takes in a done function, okay, which is a callback. And it's complaining about this right now. It's saying that done. Let me see if I can type. I can't type annotate this. But you know what I'll do is I'll just do any. I don't really care. And all we need to do is we just need to call done, pass in null, and pass in the user. What is it complaining about here right now? Okay, you know what? Let me do this. Let me actually explicitly set the type to this. Did I do this right? Might have not. Let's see. User. Hold on, wait. Give me a second. So it needs a user and then it needs a done method. Okay, I guess it's just going to be annoying, I guess. TypeScript is really annoying sometimes, but whatever, we'll just do this then, who cares. So all we need to do is just call the done method, so null, and then for what we want to pass in here is we're going to pass in the ID of the user, and that's going to be the primary key, not the Discord ID. We're going to pass in the primary key. Why is it complaining about this, man? This is why sometimes I really dislike TypeScript. Or at least maybe it's not just TypeScript, but it's because we're using Express, and the types are really irritable sometimes. But whatever, I know that this is. Let me do this. I'll do this. I'll just do this. Okay. Then what I'll do is we'll implement passport.deserializeUser. This is going to take in the ID and the done function. The ID is going to be a numeric value. And if I try to type annotate this, it's going to complain about it. Or actually it won't, which is good. Okay, so inside deserializeUser, we need to search for the user. So what I'll do is I'll do a try catch. And we'll do this const user is equal to await. Lassie, what's up? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Find one by. This will be an async method. So return. So we'll use a ternary operator. So if user was found, we will return null for the error, and we'll return user. Else, we will return null. I am doing well. Thank you for wondering. And if there's an error that happens, we will just return done error and then null. So now we're done with the serialize and deserialize user method. So we need these to actually serialize user into the session. So let's try this out. And let's see that it works. It says, can I get, why is this not working? Let's see. Did I not properly implement this URL? Maybe. Oh, you know what it is? Oh, no, it works. It's just that we don't have a handler for this. What am I building? I'm building a transcript system for my ticket bot. Let's relog in again. Let's try this out. There we go. Perfect. It works. All right. Let's go into our database. Yes, with a dashboard. Let's go ahead and do select asterisk from users. You can see that we have our user that is logged in. Okay. I could go ahead and log in with my other account. Give me 1 second. I can log in with this account over here, and it's going to say success. Perfect. As it should, right? Why Passport isn't Nest.js better? I mean, Passport is completely different. Passport is not the same. You can't really compare Passport to Nest.js. I mean, in Nest.js, you would still use Passport. And you can see that now I have both of my users in our database, so we can actually log in. Okay, which is good. Now that we have this working, what we need to do next is we need to create endpoints for the client to actually fetch the tickets and all of the messages. So how do we do that? Well, let me do this. Let's go ahead and create a new route. Let's call this tickets. Or actually, let's call this tickets.ts. Ever tried next auth? It's amazing and does all this stuff. No, I did not. Or I have not. No matter what, Next.js will never replace full scalable backends. I mean, it could someday, who knows? But at least right now, it won't, because the idea of running a backend and a frontend at the same time under one application, I mean, it's great for small applications, and they even tell you in the documentation that it's good for small applications. But if you have larger applications that you want to scale a lot easier, you always want to decouple stuff. And even in actual industry level applications, they'll always find ways to decouple things as much as possible. There's a whole reason why microservices are a thing, even though they're ridiculously annoying to maintain sometimes when it becomes too far up and on. But the whole purpose is to decouple, because it makes it easier to scale stuff. I like Next.js, don't get me wrong. I love it a lot, actually. And I think the idea of it is great, but I think many people have a misconception where they believe that having one tool that can just solve all your problems and you can just go to sleep at night not having to worry about that. I think that's not, I mean, you know, it could, like I said, it could solve it for small scale applications, but for large applications, you're going to run into a lot of issues where you would figure that an actual backend framework like Nest or, you know, Django, or really like anything like .NET, it would be a lot more suitable. Can you build backends in Next.js? Yes, you could. You could, right? But, and I'm not saying that you can't. It's great for small apps. Like if you're building a blog, you know, you can definitely use Next.js for that. If you want to build like a huge application, like an enterprise level application, probably don't use Next for that. And there's also lots of limitations with Next.js too, especially if you want to use WebSockets. Like, you know, there's pros and cons using Next.js. I've actually did a video talking about this, and if I remember correctly, one of the things that I talked about is that if your application needs to have like a lot of UI logic, for example, if it needs to have like really complicated UI, then it's better to use client-side rendering. There's pros and cons to client-side versus server-side rendering. I built my own CLI that can serve static files. It's open source. Nice. Okay, let's continue. What did I do? Oh yeah, I just copied and pasted everything here. So let's go ahead and set up the routes. So router get tickets. So this route is going to be for the user to retrieve all their tickets. So this is going to be the tickets API. Let's go ahead and import that router into our index.ts file. And then we'll register it by doing /tickets. And we actually don't even need to prefix this with tickets because we already prefixed it with this top level router. And then all we need to do is we just need to visit the endpoint. So let's do that. So /API/tickets. There we go, it works. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to actually do this. Let me remove this passport import. And I'm going to go ahead and create a folder called controllers. And this is why I say using Nest.js is way better. Because a lot of stuff that you do in Express, you're going to end up following similar structure and the same concept that you would use in an actual MVC framework like Nest.js. Again, I'm only using Express because it's fast to prototype with, but I'm still going to have some structure. Okay? So I'm going to create a folder called controllers, and inside that folder, I'll create a folder called tickets. And I'll call this get tickets.ts. And this will be our controller function. So export const, or actually wait, let me do export async function. And we'll call this get tickets controller. And what we want to do is we want to take this and we want to import this inside here, because this is going to be the function that's going to handle this route. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to pass in the request and response arguments, and we're going to type annotate them with the request interface that comes from the Express package, and same thing for the response right over here. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and just do res.send hello world ticket controller, and let's refresh, and you'll see the effect right now. Hello world ticket controller, perfect. Okay, so we're decoupling everything. We also have our own individual function that's going to control the actual route, and these are also named functions, which means that it's going to be easy for us to write unit tests for them if we want to, that is. We're not going to, but I'm just saying that that's what you could do. So with this tickets controller, what we're going to do is we're going to query the database. So what I'll do is I'll do this const tickets repository. We'll do ticket repository. And we're going to go ahead and get the data source and get the repository. Now, we don't have the ticket entity yet, so we'll have to create that. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy the one that I created for my Discord bot. So literally this one right over here. I'm going to need to copy this one, and I also need to copy the message entity as well. So let me just copy this one real quick. And I should really put these two folders inside a workspace. It'll be a lot easier to work with. Let's paste this over here. And we do need to configure a couple things. One, I need a ticket status type. And two, I need the message entity. Let's get the message entity first. So let's go back to our Discord JS application. Let's copy the message.ts file, or the contents of it at least. Okay. And let's just go ahead and create a ticket status type. We'll do that inside the utils folder. So inside the utils folder, I'll create a file called types.ts, and we'll create a custom type called ticket status, and that's going to be opened or closed. And then we'll import that into the ticket class. And that works. Okay. And we have our messages. Okay, perfect. So we have both of those entities, and we do need to register it. So we need to go inside the data source.ts file. Inside the data source configuration or the options, we need to pass in ticket and message like this. And we're done. And now we can go and pass in the ticket entity as an argument. And then we restart our application, everything should work. I'm going to turn off debugging because this is actually taking up so much space. Or not debugging, logging. Is Express good for backend with Mongoose? Yes. I honestly always recommend people to use Express when you're getting started. Nest.js is a really good tool. It's a good framework. but it has a higher learning curve if you don't really know much about web services. But Express is also good even if you're building complicated architecture for applications. So even though it's a small framework, doesn't mean that it's bad. Nest is actually also built on top of Express anyways. Zielino, welcome to the stream. How are you? So let's go ahead and fetch the ticket. Now, how do we know what tickets to fetch? Right? Well, we need to fetch the ticket based off the user's ID. So how do we get the user's ID? Well, the request object is going to have this user property, right? And we can just reference the ID like that. Okay? So what we'll do is I actually will need to create a custom user, or not a custom user, a custom request. So let me go over here and I'll do export interface authenticated, or let's do auth request. Let's do extends request. So we're just going to extend the request object, and the user type, we're going to override it to be a user type, and that user type is going to be our type ORM entity. Okay, so now what we can do is we can change this to auth request, and then what I can do is I can console log and I can reference rec.user, and I can reference all the properties so we have type safety. So for example, if I want to visit the endpoint over here, we have an error. Let's see what's going on here. It's not assignable to parameter of type application record. Okay, yeah, this is kind of annoying. I think I may have done it wrong actually. Yeah, let me do this actually. Instead of extending it, let me actually try doing and. Or how do I did this before. I can't remember how I did this. Let me see. I've done this before, but I can't remember how I've done this before. Yo, what's up, Cyanide? How are you? Welcome to the stream. Okay, so it doesn't okay, now it's complaining. Okay. I'm trying to remember how I did this before, because I have successfully done this before. But I can't remember how I did this now. Now, this is not wrong. This is this right? No, I don't think this is right. Yeah, this is definitely not right. Yeah, no, this is definitely not right. Your videos got me into JSTS. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you enjoyed them. Okay, this is really annoying. Let's see. Let me look at some old code real quick and see if I can recall how I've done this before. Because I have done this before. Let me double check something real quick on my other screen. Give me 1 second. If I remember correctly, I think what I may have done was I overrided the actually no, I didn't. I'm trying to remember which applications I've worked on that I've done this before. This is really lame that it's complaining about this. I'm extending auth requests, so why is that even a problem? Do I need to use? Let's see. I think maybe the Discord dashboard series. Maybe I may have done something with that. Let me double check. Maybe I have not. Okay. I'm not even gonna bother with this. I think I've never actually successfully done this before. I'm not gonna bother with this because this is freaking annoying. I'm just gonna do this. And we're just gonna do this. We're just gonna do it like this because we can't do it any other way. I mean, there is another way to do this. You can override like the namespace, but I can't remember how to do that, so I'm not gonna bother wasting time on that right now. Okay, so right now, let's refresh. You're gonna see that if we log user, it's gonna say undefined, and that makes sense because we're not logged in. And now if I were to log in right now, and if I revisit that endpoint, you're gonna see that we are logged in. And the reason why we're not logged in is because we don't have a session store. I'm gonna configure that later. So for now, we are just going to need to re-log in over and over again. Okay. So let's go ahead and do this. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and do this. First, let's actually create a middleware. And the middleware that we're going to create is checking to see if the user is logged in. What theme is that? I think it's Horizon. Yeah, it's Horizon. Let's do this. If rec.user next else res.status 41 send message. Okay, so this is going to be a middleware function that we're going to need to call before every single route. So this will ensure that our endpoint is protected, so unauthorized users cannot visit this. So right before our get tickets controller, we're going to pass this is authenticated middleware. Okay, so if we try to visit this endpoint, you're going to see it says not authenticated. If we log in again, and if I try to visit that endpoint, now we can visit that. Okay, so what we're going to do is, now that we know that the user is in fact authenticated, we can go ahead and search for the tickets. So we'll do const tickets equals await ticket repository.find, and we want to find by, and this is going to search for multiple tickets, and we want to search by the ID of the user. So we'll do user.id, just like that, and then we'll go ahead and just send back the tickets. Let's do this. We'll do this. Okay. So let's restart. If I refresh, not authorized, let's re-log in again. And you can see now we do not have any tickets, which is really weird because actually, oh wait, you know what? We actually can't search by the primary key. We need to actually search by the Discord ID. So the ticket itself is going to have this created by property, and we're going to pass in user.discordid. There we go. I completely forgot about that. All right. So let's refresh. Let's log in again. Let's click authorize. There we go. I don't have a JSON formatter right now. I might need to install one actually. Or actually, I think I have JSON viewer installed, but I don't have it enabled for some reason. Let me go into the extension real quick. There we go. All right, perfect. I don't really like the dark mode on this, to be honest. I might have to disable dark mode. Let me actually try adding another extension. I think this is a little bit better, actually. Okay, so we have all of our tickets. Okay, so we have the channel ID, description. Okay, but the most important thing is, what about the messages? Okay, so we're gonna have to create another endpoint to actually fetch the messages. You could do that, which is what I highly recommend, or you can actually set the relations property over here. Actually, I'm not even sure if it's gonna allow me. I think it's, let's see. Let's see, find by. I want to set the relations, but for some reason it's not letting me. I think we might actually need to use query, create query builder, and then we need to get the relations that way. Because I don't think it's going to let us do that. But it's fine though. It's not recommended to do it this way. We'll have to create another endpoint that fetches a single ticket. And this is the one that's going to actually get the actual message itself, to get all the messages. Okay, so this endpoint is going to be called to display all the tickets to the user. This endpoint is going to get all the messages. Okay, so I'll show you how this is going to work. And we're going to need the ID. So that's going to be a route parameter. So const ticket ID is equal to rec.user, or not rec.user, rec.params. And we'll call it ID. And then we'll query the database, take a repository, find one by, and then ID, ticket ID, like that. And then if there's no ticket found, return res status 40, we'll do 400. Okay. Let's see what's going on over here. Oh wait, it's supposed to be a number. Here, let me do this. We'll do this if they pass an invalid route. So let's test out this endpoint real quick. Let's go into the tickets route. We'll do router.get. And then so this is going to be /tickets/ID. The user will need to be authenticated, and then we'll do get ticket by ID controller. Now I will just opt out of the is authenticated middleware because I want to test this a lot faster. So let's do a ticket ID number 27. So I'll give us number 27. Let me go over here real quick. Let me do this. Can I do find and for relations we want to get the messages. Messages. I think this could actually also be an array as well. Alright, let's try this out and see what happens. How do you type so fast without making typos? I guess years of practice. I've been typing and using the computer for like over 10 years now. So I guess just practice, I guess. Alright, so let's go ahead and try to get the relations now. I think this should work. There we go, perfect. You can see that we now have the messages relation. How old am I? Guess. Alright, let me go ahead and just get the ticket that has the messages, which is ticket ID number 34. So let's specify number 34. There we go. So we can see now we actually have all of the messages, which is perfect. Okay, and I think the insertion order is in order. But of course, what's important is that we have the messages, which is good. We have all the messages. That is perfect. So now what we need to do is we need to allow the client to, well, not allow the client, we need to fetch this endpoint, okay? And then we need to render out all the messages on the UI. So I think we're ready to move on to the React portion of this project. So let's go ahead and create a new React project. Jesus, I actually forgot how to even create a React project, if I'm being honest with you. It's been so long since I've actually worked with React. Let's see, let's go over to React. I might not even use React. I might actually use something else like Next. I don't even know if I want to even use React, to be honest with you. But we'll still need to call the API, so it doesn't really make sense. So I'll just use regular React. Yeah, I'm 24 years old. I've never used Vite before, so I'll probably have to look up the docs for that. But I won't do that right now, though. I'll just use React. So I remember correctly, I'm going to use Yarn to create this. So Yarn create React app template TypeScript. I think this is how you do this. Just off the top of my head. Let's see. Let's name this ticket system dashboard. Oh yeah, I messed up. Wait, hold on. All right, there we go. So we're going to create the React app, and then we're going to build out the UI. The annoying thing is that we will need to use React Router, and I absolutely despise using the new React Router. I think the new React Router is dumb, in my opinion. I just personally don't like it. I mean, it's not dumb. I just personally don't like it. But we'll use it anyways. So this will take some time. Can you make a video how to integrate PayPal subscription with REST API, please? Probably won't. Let me do something real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna go ahead and actually close out this. Close out this. And close out this. I'm gonna close out everything. I'm gonna create a new workspace real quick, or I'm gonna create a folder. And I want to move all of my projects inside that folder because everything's becoming, because I don't want to have everything open in one. So let me do this real quick. Give me 1 second. Trying to find the project for, what was it called? Discord tickets is API. Let's exit this. Let's exit this. All right, I just needed to move everything into one folder because everything was just becoming really hard to maintain. So I created a new folder called Discord Ticket Project. There we go. And I'm only going to run the API. I don't really need to run the bot for now. We only need the API, so we'll run the API. Oh wait, I'm in the wrong directory. Whoops. Okay. All right, so we have the React app running over here. Perfect. All right. So we'll need to do a couple things. Let's do this. First things first, let's set up React router. So I shall do that right now. So React router. So let's install it. So we will go ahead and install React router version 6. Will this stream be up on the channel later because I joined super late? Yeah, it's gonna be on the channel, don't worry. So we'll install React router DOM. And let's configure React router. So we'll need, I guess, a couple main pages. So what we'll do is we'll import React router DOM. And we want to import browser router. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this between router. Why not using Next? Because I want to use React. And what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and go into our app, and then we'll configure 2 pages, or 2 routes, I should say. So let's do this. Let's import I have so many tabs open. So from React Router DOM, we're going to import routes and route. Okay. And then to set up a route, we're just going to set the path. And this is going to, we're going to need to set the element to a component. So let me go ahead and create a folder called pages. So let's go ahead and set the component to home page like this. Okay, no issues found. Let's go back to the app, home page, perfect. All right. Let me also move this here as well, so it's easier for me to see everything. And we'll need a second page, which is going to be an authenticated route. So only if the user is authenticated, they can then see the actual page. So let's call this dashboard. So let's go to the route now, dashboard. We're on the dashboard page. Perfect. Okay, we're not handling any authorization or authentication yet. We'll do that later. Okay, but the importance is that we'll just assume that the user is logged in. When they go to this page, they will be able to go ahead and get all their tickets. So, will the stream stay on the channel? Yes, it will. Okay, so one thing that I'll do is let me go inside my API, and for this redirect, I'm going to actually redirect the user to our localhost application. So res.redirect localhost port 3000 /dashboard. So that way on the client side, the user will actually have the cookies. So then when they make requests to the API, we'll know who the authenticated user is. So let's relog in again. And this should redirect us to the dashboard. And if we look at our cookies, you're going to see I have the cookie that expires in 1 hour from now. So 1649. So that should be 1 hour from now. Okay, so we know that we have the cookies on the browser. So now if we were to make requests from here to the actual API, the API would know who the user is, which is good. Okay, so on the dashboard, this is where we're going to want to fetch all of the tickets for the user. So let's go ahead and I guess install Axios. I'm not going to use React Query because I have not used that for a while. I'll just use Axios for now. So we'll create a folder called utils. I'll create a file called api.ts. We'll import Axios from Axios. We'll set the options with credentials to true. And the type of this is going to be Axios request config, which has that property with credentials to true. We will build a TS project to JS, right? Then which is more optimized. The JS, of course. TypeScript still compiles down to JavaScript, so you want to make sure you run the JavaScript code because it's obviously going to be a lot faster than running the TypeScript code. Okay, so this is going to fetch all of the tickets. Let's just make sure that the tickets, whoops. Okay, so we're going to fetch all the tickets created by the user. And on the back end, we'll have to handle that to get only the tickets for the user, which I think we already did that already, actually. If we look at the tickets endpoint, I think we already did that. Yep, we did that. So let's go ahead and enable cores, because right now we are making a request from port 3000 to port 3001 on localhost, and we're gonna get a cores issue, so we need to enable cores. Well, actually, we need to install cores. So we'll call app.use cores and the origin HTTP. So the origin is going to be localhost port 3000 because that's where we're going to make the request from. And we'll set credentials to true. So now we should be able to make requests through this API with no issues. So let's open up the console. We're not making any requests yet, so don't worry. So in the dashboard page, inside the useEffect hook, we'll go ahead and we'll call this fetch tickets function, and then we'll handle everything in here. So we will add a dependency array, because if we don't, then it's going to run this useEffect hook every single time, and we don't want that. So we'll leave an empty dependency array to make sure that it will only execute whenever it will only execute once, basically. So let's look at the browser. Let's refresh. You can see that it's saying 401 unauthorized, which makes sense because we have the endpoint protected. So we do need to relog in again. So let's do that. Whoops. Okay, I was kind of scared that I accidentally may have leaked something, but I didn't. Let me just remove that real quick. Authorize. Okay, perfect. So now if I look at the console, you can see that I have all my tickets right over here. Okay, and then what I can do is I can go ahead and render all those tickets. So what we'll do is this: const tickets, set tickets, use state. Okay, and then what we'll do is we'll call set tickets. And that should be it. We'll also create a variable. We'll create a state variable called loading. Set loading. And when the component renders, we'll set loading to true because it's going to call fetch tickets. And then once it's done fetching, we'll set loading to false. And then we will set loading to false if the error happens. Okay? And then over here, what I can do is I can go ahead and render all my tickets. So if not loading and actually wait. We'll call tickets.map because it's an array, tickets. And just for now, I'll just do something like this. P ticket.id. What's going on here? I'm going to set this as any just for now because I'm too lazy to type annotate this right now. What's up, Galsami? Long time no see. How are you? Doing good. Okay, so we have the created by. Perfect. So these are all my tickets. So the next thing that we need to do is make it so that when we click on the ticket, it's going to go ahead and show them the transcript. So it's going to show them the messages. So, of course, we'll need to add an additional route. So dashboard / let me see. We'll need to make it so that when they click on it, it'll bring them to another page, and that page will fetch the tickets messages, and then they can see all of the tickets. Oh, I'm sorry, not all the tickets, all the messages. Because right now, right, we have all the messages already where the user can fetch the messages, right? So I go to this one. We can fetch the messages, but we need to render all of those messages. So that's the problem that we need to do. So we need to go ahead and create another page. So we'll call this tickets. You know, I'm not gonna call this dashboard. I'll call this tickets. I'll change it later. And we'll need a route ID. Oops. Let's create another page. What is this? We're creating a transcript system for our Discord ticket bot. What's up, Berserk? How are you? And welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well. Shalev Sabah, how are you? Welcome to the stream. Let's see, is this not working or? Did I do this wrong? Okay, no, that's not what I wanted. Let me see. I could sit here for hours watching this, could you? I'm not sure why this is giving me issues. I wish the documentation had some more specific scenarios like this. Hmm. Let's try this out. Still not doing what we want. All right, so we have ticket page, so that's working. That's the element right over here. Okay, and then inside we have the ID, and then we close that. So it seems to be the issue. I'm so confused on why this is not working. Oh, I guess we gotta add an outlet. So I guess we gotta add the outlet inside the ticket page over here. So let's do that, I guess. Maybe that was the problem from earlier. Okay, but I don't want it to show the ticket item though. That's not what I want. I just want it to show the actual ID itself and not the ticket page. It's showing the content from the page. Let's see what else the docs say. Let me see. I mean, I guess what I could do is I could have like all of the tickets on like listed in like a sidebar, I guess. Like this page could display all the tickets, and then when they click on it, it'll just like render the different ticket, I guess. I don't know. There's many ways to handle this, but I just don't like the way how they did this. But it's whatever. Who cares? I'm so stoned and watching. I don't know why, and I don't even why it looks so freaking interesting. All right. So I guess for the ticket page, Okay, yeah, I guess I'll just do it like this. I'll leave the ticket page alone, and I'll just leave it like this. So what we want to do is when the user clicks on one of these components, it's going to bring them to the page. So we can do on-click, and then we can programmatically navigate them. And there should be a hook called use navigate. Just like that. And then we can do navigate, and this is just a function. And then we just pass in the URL. So it's /tickets/ and then a ticket ID. Like this. So watch this. So I'm going to go back to the dashboard. If I click on this ticket over here, it's going to bring me to ticket item number 27, number 29, number 28, 32, 33. And what we want to do is we want to fetch the individual ticket and get all the messages and render them. So I'll show you how we can do that. So on the ticket item page, we're going to go ahead and use the use effect hook. We're going to go ahead and call the API. So I'm going to create another function called fetch ticket by ID. This is going to take in an ID axios.get, and then it's going to be, the URL is going to be localhost port 3001/API/tickets, and then the ID, and then we're going to pass in the options that are defined up top there. So when we call this endpoint, it's going to give us literally exactly what you see in this endpoint over here, and it's going to give us that messages property that we'll use. So let's go ahead and create a state variable. Ticket, set ticket, use state. And I'm just going to set the type to be any for now, because like I said, I'm too lazy to create the types. We'll probably worry about that later, or you can just do it yourself. We'll go ahead and call fetch ticket by ID, and we'll need to pass in the ID, and we can get the ID from params.id like this. Then we'll handle that. What's going on over here? Okay, we'll create another state variable called loading, set loading. This is going to be a Boolean, of course. So when we render the component, we're going to set the state to loading, and you can display like a spinner if you want to. We're not going to do that. Once you're done calling the API, once you're done with everything, you can set loading to false, indicating that it's done fetching. So we're going to get the data. show you what that looks like. Let's refresh, open the console, look at the object. You can see we had the ticket and there's no messages for this ticket, and that's fine. The one that had actual messages was ticket number 34. I don't know why it's not created. I think ticket number 34 is actually created by someone else. Yeah, it was created by the other account. So we would have to log in with our other account in order for this to work. Let me actually see if I can do that real quick on Chrome. Let me actually try this real quick. Okay, there we go, yeah. So on Chrome, you can see over here, I'm logged into my other account. You can see that these three are my tickets. Ticket number 34 is the one that will need to actually that actually has messages. Okay, so let's do this. We're gonna go ahead and set the ticket to response data, and we know that the ticket is gonna have a property called messages. Okay, so let's just go ahead and render out those messages. Okay, so here's what we'll do. For now, let me just do this. Let's do ticket.messages.map. And we're going to have to make this some complex logic. But for now, let me just go ahead and do this. What's going on here? Oh, wait, hold on. I forgot to do this. There we go. That should fix it, I think. Wait, did I have the actual property as content? Yeah, messages.content. So what's going on over here? Ticket.messages. Let's see. .map. So what's going on over here? Okay, there we go. I don't know why it's taking forever. Is our API just like lagging or something? I'm not sure. Because you can see that I'm on ticket number 34. But something might be wrong. Oh, you know what it is? It's saying that it's undefined. Which is strange because we are fetching the data first. So if it's not loading, let's see. I guess because in the beginning, loading is set to false, right? And then when we do not loading, it's trying to reference this. So maybe it's throwing that error. And once it's actually, you know, finished everything, I think maybe that's the reason why. Let me see. I think we could do this. So if loading, we will do loading, else we do yeah, it's throwing an error, so I have to figure this out. Let's see. And this is why client-side rendering sometimes can be really annoying because it doesn't recognize messages as a property. Oh, wait, what am I doing? I can also just do this. Wait. I think this should work. Yep, perfect. All right, so let's go back here. If I refresh, you can see that the contents are actually showing up. Perfect. All right, so now we have to make it look nice and we have to make it look presentable because we don't know who sent the message. So this is going to be really, really fun. Let me actually look at the data real quick. Because what we want to do is we want to basically show all of the messages. So for example, if we want to show all of the messages. Actually, wait. You know what? It's actually not even that hard, actually. Because I was thinking about putting it. I was thinking about putting like the opposite user, like the other recipient on the other side, but we don't really have to. We don't even have to do that. So let me do this. Let's do this. Let's do span. I think, wait, I don't have author username? Oh, it's author tag. Okay, so we have author tag, and let's go ahead and get the avatar. Okay, so we can see the avatars right now. Though we should set a height and width to that, so let's do width 100, height 100, all avatar. Let me do smaller. Okay. I can also set the style to this as well. Set a border radius of 50%. Here we go. And then we also need the contents of the message. Before I continue, let me just set the style to display flex with 100%. Let's do. Whoops, wrong one. I want it to be centered, or you don't need it centered. You don't have to have it centered, but I also want the image to come first. There we go, like that. And I'm gonna make the image a little bit smaller. Okay, so here's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna have the image come first. And then I want to make it look identical to Discord. So we're gonna have, let's see. Okay, so they're right underneath. Do we have the time? Yes, we have the time. Where should I display the time? I could probably display the time all the way at the end. Somewhere over here. I think we're gonna get an error, yeah. Yeah, this is better. I'm gonna move this all to the side though. So So I think this right over here is going to need to be flexbox. Width will be justify content space. Okay, perfect. And last but not least, we'll add some margin maybe, perhaps. We'll add some padding. Maybe not too much. Let's try 2032. Nope. Too much. Actually, you know, let's do 18. I want some padding. Oh, we also need to set box. Well, what was that thing called again? Content. Oh, box sizing. Okay, and I do want to add some padding for this over here, so it's not like, so the message is not stuck to the image. So we'll add some padding here. Let me just make it a little bit smaller. Let's do 20. All right, and then for every single message, we can go ahead and add a border on the bottom. Something like this. And we can always set the opacity. Something like that. And we probably should also add some padding on the bottom too, because the margin does not look nice. This should be top and bottom, but I'm not sure why there's no margin over here. I think it's because we may have set padding. Oh, actually, I think I know what it is. I think maybe there might be some padding for some certain things, or some margin over here. Who knows? But it works though. Like it's working. So you can see that it's in order. So hello, hey there, how are you? User. And if you wanted to make it reversed, you could do that. But that is pretty much how you can have transcripts for your ticket. A lot of work, I know, but in the end, it's worth it. Anyways, I'm tired, so that's going to be it for the stream. Thanks for watching, and I'll see